So, I just came upon a nasty situation in which my primary domain controller, in fact, my only domain controller of my demo lab environment, has popped up this message box, and I've been unable to resolve it. I've tried to activate Windows, it failed. I've tried to do a bunch of other things. So, what I need to do is create a new domain controller and migrate everything across if I can. So hopefully this is going to work. So this server, let me pop this open. This is Erlon, which is my primary domain controller. If I flip over to my new server, which is COBOL, it's not currently joined to the domain, so as I do not have DHCP, I will need to set a hard-coded IP address for this machine. So we're going to, now let me check which one's which. Network connected. Be nice if it let me know which one was which. So let's just view the status. And this has an IP address, so this is Wi-Fi. And this does not. There we go. So this is private. I have two networks, one plugged into the internet and the other plugged into just the servers. So let me just fix an IP address. And we'll go with one. And currently, I need to set the DNS of the server that is our domain controller. So let me join the domain. env.nakedlm.com. There we go. I'm going to join this machine to the domain, then I'll have to reboot. This machine I have activated, so I won't be in the same boat as I was before. And there we go. Welcome to the env.nakedlm.com domain. So let's restart this machine. And it will go a little for a minute before it all comes back up. There we go. Now I can log on. As my domain administrator. And more or less, there we go. We are now in the domain. So what we really want to do is we want to promote this machine to be a domain controller within the domain. So now if we go to local server, we've got our server COBOL in the NakedLM domain. So now I need to promote this to be a domain controller. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to add roles and features. And to the server. And I got to go to, so we need to select Active Directory domain services and DNS server. We're going to be decommissioning the old server, moving all the services across to this server. So we need to make sure we have all of the things available, and we'll need our DNS server. We don't need to select any additional features. It's already set up anything that we need when we selected the options that we wanted. So it's going to automatically set all of this up. And there we go, we can start the installation going. And there we go. installation has completed. We still have some configuration to do because although we've installed all the pieces we need, we haven't configured any of them yet. So I'm going to click on this option to promote this server to a domain controller. So we're going to, we're not creating a new domain or a new forest or any of those things. I already have all of that set up. I just want to move everything across. So I'm going to add this domain controller to the existing domain. So it's pre-selected the domain that I was currently on, which is awesome. So I'm just going to click next. And really, we mostly want a default set of options. So right now it's communicating with the main domain controller and figuring out what options I can select. So now that that's loaded, you can see that it's limited the options that we have available. We've got DNS server enabled, global catalog. We don't want it read-only, and we want to leave it the default site. Put in our password options. Replicate from, well, I can say any domain controller, or I can pick the one other one I have. Easy enough. I'm going to leave the paths default. This really is a demo system, but I've made a lot of configurations, so I don't want to lose the existing domain. That's why I'm not just setting up a new one. It's fun when you have to then go and rebuild all of your servers that have SQL Server and whatnot on them. There we go. It's completed all the prerequisite checks. There's a couple of triangles, a couple of bangs. Default security settings are enabled. I'm okay with that. Authoritative parent zone cannot be found. Again, I'm okay with that. So we can just go ahead and click install. If you were in a production domain, you may want to look more carefully at those things. I'm not, so I don't care. So because we've just installed domain controller, it's going to restart us automatically. If I click close, I think it's effectively just going to, there we go, off and do it itself. Now this restart may take a little bit longer than normal. And there we go. So let me log in as a domain administrator now. Now we're almost there. We have a server, it is a domain controller. We still have a bunch of things that we need to move across to this. It's going to sync in the background some of the capabilities, and it should, although DNS may not be replicating yet, if I go to DNS Manager, and it has already replicated. Awesome. So you can see all the servers that I've had in the past. Some no longer exist. Probably needs a bit of cleanup. But it's already replicated the DNS across. But there are a number of other PCs to Active Directory that are specific to a server. And we need to move those across before we can decommission the old server. So the first thing we need to do is open up Active Directory users and computers. And if we right click on our domain and click Operations Masters, we'll see that currently the RID operational master is Erlon, and we'd like it to be COBOL. So if we hit the change button, that will change it over. Our primary domain controller is currently Erlon. We change that. Now it's COBOL. Our infrastructure master is currently Erlon. Again, change it over, and now we're at COBOL for all three of our operational master roles. Now in a very large domain, you might have these on separate servers for performance and scalability, but here we don't really need that. Now everything should be transferred over to COBOL. We're going to leave that for a couple of minutes, just make sure that everything transfers over correctly, and then we'll be able to decommission the old domain controller. So in order to remove Active Directory, we remove Active Directory roles, pick our server, and soon so you can see that we still have the Schema Operational Master role on this server. So if we right click and select run and run mmc/a and add the schema snap in, there we go. We're now currently, we connect to Erlon, there we go. So we're connected to our operational master, and if we click operations master, you can see that it says Erlon in both boxes. So what we need to do is change the server and see them now both online, connect to COBOL, and if we right click, select operations master, we now have current is Erlon. We want to change it to COBOL, so if we hit change, yes, we want to change. Operational master has now been changed. Close that. No. So we've removed the schema operational master. We also need to remove the domain name operational master. In order to do that, we run the domains and trusts. We right click on Active Directory domains and trusts, select operational master, and you'll see that the current is Erlon. We want it to be COBOL, and we can just change that over, and we've moved that across. As we've moved these over, we're pretty good. We can proceed with the removal. Hit next, and it will, and we can demote it. There we go. We've successfully demoted it. It's going to restart anyway. We can just force it right now. There we go. Now, while this machine is still is not a domain controller anymore, it's still currently joined to the domain, I believe. We will check that in just a minute. Message we're trying to avoid. Nope, it's a work group. Awesome. So this server's been removed from the domain. We have a new domain controller. And really, as there is absolutely no going back at this point anyway, let me shut down this server. There we go, it's off. I'm going to open up my Hyper-V manager, and I can delete. There we go, I've deleted that server. So now COBOL is our domain controller. So on COBOL, and if we do IP config, this is 4. So now I can change, let me pick a machine. Let's connect to Baltar. Type the right password. You may need to log in as a local administrator. Let me open up Server Manager. Oh, not on Wi-Fi. Well, let's open up our private. Not 6, v4. And this is number 4 is our new DNS server, our new Active Directory domain. Let's try something simple. and we're able to find everything in our domain, add Abu Obi, who is not on this machine, and add them in. So we're able to query, connect to Active Directory, so it looks like everything's doing just fine. And there you go. That's how to migrate Active Directory from one machine to another and demote the old machine.